Hi guys, it's Darrell Amanko. Welcome to this video. On this platform, I discuss thought-provoking topics that should leave you inspired and motivated to be the best you can be. And today, I'm going to be talking about that voice in your head that tells you not to do something that you want to do because you might fail at it. And that is the fear of failure. Fear of failure is something that holds people back a lot. And I just want to talk about why that should not hold you back from trying to achieve your dreams, your goals, and your passions. But if we start to think back to where does this come from? Why do we feel like fear of failure should hold us back? Why do we even have that fear to fail? Because when I think back to it, as babies, as kids, and any babies, you start to learn how to walk. And you take your first step and you fall. You get up again, you take your next step, you fall, you get up again. But what we learned as babies and what all babies learn is how to walk at the end of it. So there is a success at the end of that failure. Even when you think about being a kid, we all go out to play with our friends. You jump on little walls and you run around, but you fall sometimes. What that teaches you is how not to fall or to be more careful. So you always learn something from failing. But it seems like the older we get, the more fear of failure plays into our decision making. And it's just thinking about, where does that come from? Is it society, where we feel like we should do things that are more safe? And I believe that it is society that teaches us to take the safe route all the time. But today, we're going to be talking about why it shouldn't hold you back, failure, and how to try and overcome it. If you think about it, what is the worst thing that can happen when you fail? You might lose some money, which is temporary. You can always make the money back. You might face some difficult times, which is temporary. Or people might even laugh at you. But who cares about people that are going to sit back and laugh at you? But on the flip side, if you think about what the positives are by trying to do something and not failing, obviously you succeed. And that is probably the biggest gift that you can get for any hard work that you put in, success. On the other hand, what you also get is lessons. You learn so much from any failures that we have. And I'm going to take you back a bit to a point at which, a number of years ago, my partner and my wife now, we decided that we were going to leave our jobs. We're going to pursue our dreams of starting a coffee shop. Now, for us, we've never started a coffee shop. We both worked corporate jobs. I was a project manager. My wife is a lawyer. But we decided to leave those jobs and go for a passion that we have, which was starting a coffee shop. We did all the research. We looked at equipment to buy. We spent our hard-earned money. We spent our time. Blood, sweat, and tears went into this coffee shop. We had to learn how to make coffee. We had to learn how to make, sandwiches, create a menu. We even had to learn how to put a facility together and get in the workers to put everything together. Now, after all of this hard work, you can imagine how much love and passion we had for this place. And to be honest, there was even success at the first hurdle, which is actually being able to pull this off. For me, I always hold that as a big success, because for many people, you don't always get the opportunity to do something like that and actually pull it off. But we did. And we opened up and we had people coming in and people giving us great review. However, over the months, things started to slow down. And at some point, it just wasn't worth it anymore. And you can look at it as a failure. But we learned so much, so many valuable lessons from just trying to do something that we wanted to do. We learned so many personal lessons, how much we could personally take, how much hustle we had, how much grind we had. And sometimes we used to work 18-hour days, 20-hour days. We'd close the shop, we'd come home, we'd bake, we'd work on the food for the next day, and then we'll open up early and we'll work all throughout the day. And it just showed us that we could do anything that we put our mind to. It also taught us a lot about business. It taught us how to manage our businesses moving forward, how to financial plan, how to look at our capital, how to manage our overheads. There was just so much that we learned from just this one failure. But most importantly, before we did start, we obviously felt there was a fear that we could fail. There was a fear. We've never done this before. It's in a town that we're not too sure how it's gonna go. It's on a road that we're not too sure about. We're putting a lot of money into it. What can happen? What can go wrong? And we all go through that. But what we made sure we didn't do was we didn't let it hold us back, because we thought, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? And when the worst did happen, where it failed, we just go on with our lives, found new jobs, and started to build and started to plan again. But the fundamental things that would never leave us from that experience is how we should manage our businesses moving forward. And we've taken those lessons into future businesses, and we're starting to see progression there. Think about some of the most financially successful people in the world. I'm talking about Mark Zuckerberg, I'm talking about Bill Gates, who both dropped out of Harvard to pursue their business aspirations. Now, if they succumbed to the fear of failure and didn't actually take those leaps, today we wouldn't have Microsoft. Imagine the world without Microsoft. We wouldn't have Facebook, which is the biggest social media platform in the world. Even think about people like Richard Branson, who failed multiple times. You know, his first business was a failure. His second business went to the point where his parents even had to remortgage their house to help him pay off some of his debts. But lo and behold, he kept pursuing, and we have Virgin today. You know, that is one of the biggest companies in the world, expanding from, you know, going from a bookstore to airlines to train lines to mobile networks. So there's so many people out there who we all look up to, and some of the most successful people in our society today who did not decide to succumb to the fear of failure. Another example I'm going to give is Jeff Bezos, who at the time of starting Amazon had a great job. I think he was a senior director in one of a massive company. However, he had this idea that he wanted to sell books online. So he started Amazon from his garage, and he had to quit his job. You can imagine most of us are in similar situations where we've got something good or decent going on. We have a plan to do something that we actually love and are passionate about, but there's the fear of failure. There's the fear that we leave what we want to do to pursue something else, and it might actually fail. You know, what Jeff Bezos said to his earlier investors is, there's a 70% chance that this business might fail. 70%, and he still took that risk to decide to pursue that business. Imagine that. Imagine thinking, you know what, I've got a great job. I think he was one of the youngest senior directors in his firm's history, deciding to leave that and start a business that he felt had a 70% chance to fail, and even telling his investors that. But many years later, he pushed through, worked hard, and Amazon is probably the biggest brand in our society today. What that goes to tell me is we need to start thinking about what we actually want to do and why we feel like the fear of failure is holding us back. Because to be honest, what is the worst that can happen when you fail? You know, in my opinion, failure is equal to learning. At everything that you fail at, you learn something valuable. I have this saying that I tell myself, when you fail once, you're doubling your chance to succeed. Now, I'm going to give you a practical example as to how this works. You think about our lives, you think about looking for a job, going for interviews. And I know most of you have been in that position where, you know, your first interview, you're so nervous, you've prepared, but you're not confident. You're scared that you might not get the job. You're scared that you might slip up, you might stammer, you might get the answers wrong. And sometimes we do. You know, we have a terrible first interview. But what you learn from that interview is how to improve, how to get better. And like most of you know, the more and more interviews that you do, the better you get at doing interviews. And if you've done as many interviews as I have, I'm at a point where I walk into the interview and I start to interview the interviewer. So I've learned so many things from failing interviews, not getting jobs in the past, and that's just a practical example. And that's why I continue to tell myself that once you fail once, you're doubling your chance to succeed. So I'm not saying that no matter what you do, you're not going to feel fear. Fear is a natural emotion that we all have within us. We feel fear for so many different things. But the most important thing is, don't let it hold you back from your dreams. Don't let it hold you back from your purpose. Don't let it hold you back from your goals. So I'm going to leave you with this quote: fear kills more dreams than failure ever will. Now, in case you haven't taken it down or it hasn't hit home yet, what I said is fear kills more dreams than failure ever will. So I'd like for you to just sit there and think about what you actually want to do. Something that you want to do so badly, but you're scared that you will fail at it. You are scared that you won't succeed. And remember that at the end of the day, the first step needs to be taken. And that step is going to allow you to continue to progress, continue to learn, and continue to grow. So I hope that topic gave you some thought-provoking ideas, gave you some inspiration, and gave you some motivation. If you like this sort of video, I'd like for you to please support by sharing, liking, commenting, and I'll catch you in the next video.